I slept with my younger sister's husband on their wedding eve, and ever since then, I swore that I would take her husband away from her, no matter the cost. The whole thing began when I and Richard, my sister's husband, started chatting on Facebook. By then, Richard and my sister haven't met. I felt deeply for Richard, and I always imagined him as the father of my kids. But through our chat, Richard never confessed any love to me. One day, while I was bathing, I received a text from Richard asking us to meet. I was curious to meet him for the first time in person, but as girls, I had to force him to let me tag my sister along. Richard refused, but after so many persistence, he gave in. When I and my sister got to the location of the dinner date, Richard and my sister got along to the extent I began to feel left out throughout the dinner night. When we were done, Richard exchanged contact with my sister. After that day, I and Richard kept chatting, but something changed. Richard would sometimes leave my message read, but still won't reply. After a few weeks of Richard's change of behavior, I felt like he was no longer interested in me, so I completely blocked him. 2 days after, I unblocked him. One day, while I was laying on the parlor couch, pressing my phone, my sister rushed to me, screaming, "He asked me to be his girlfriend." "Zuri, he asked me to be his girlfriend," she said repeatedly. Who? Who asked you to be his girlfriend?" I asked, sitting up well. "Richard, the guy I followed you to a dinner date with few weeks ago," she said, rejoicing. At that point, I felt this grudge in my heart for my sister, but I decided to let go, concluding that Richard was never mine. That's why. Soon, my sister started going on dates and shopping with Richard. It even got to a point that Richard bought her a car to ease her to work. On one special evening, while I was in the parlor with a friend, I noticed my sister walking downstairs and spraying fragrance in the entire house. I was curious, so I asked her the reason she was spraying the house. And of course, it was because Richard was coming to visit. After a few hours, Richard walked in and they hugged and kissed right in front of us. My friend was already offended, but she waited for them to leave. "Is that not the guy that you told me you both had a thing before?" "Yes, he is the one I told you about, but nothing to worry. If it's meant to be, it will be," I said and scoffed. "But if you don't work for it to be, how will it be?" my friend said to me and walked out. I was sitting all alone in the parlor when my sister walked in with bright smiles on her face. As soon as she saw me, she stretched her hand out and revealed the engagement ring. That was when I knew that I had to take back what rightfully belongs to me by all means. I pretended to be happy for my sister. During her wedding preparations, I was superheading everything. I used the opportunity of supervising the wedding to draw closer to her husband-to-be. Soon, her husband-to-be began to trust me. I began giving him late-night calls after I have added sleeping pills inside a drink or food for my sister to make her sleep.